Yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. In A Course in Miracles, reality can only be known through experience. It cannot be described through concepts. When something is seen through concepts, the depth and aliveness of what is seen is lost, its formless reality hidden. For the analytical mind divides and fragments what it attempts to understand, and in the process, what it studies, it dissects and kills. The wholeness and sacredness has been removed. The Greek philosopher Socrates, in Plato's Apology, argues that the reason the Delphi oracle claimed he was the wisest man on earth was that he understood that he did not know what others believed they did know. His wisdom is knowing that he did not know. He understood that the first step in understanding truth is the removal of the false. For wisdom cannot be found in opinions and judgments, but in the very relinquishment of judgment itself. Instruction in perception is your great need, for you understand nothing. The very first lesson in the workbook teaches that nothing one sees means anything, which at first appears to be completely puzzling. Yet in Lesson 2 we learn that the reason nothing one sees means anything is because one is giving everything all the meaning it has for oneself. And where is the meaning that one places on everything coming from? It comes from the past, something that no longer exists, from past ideas and conditioned beliefs which one unconsciously holds on to. And if one is truly not seeing anything as it is now, then it can be said one is seeing nothing at all. What one perceives is being colored and shaped by personal judgments that have nothing to do with what is being seen. One is actually perceiving something that is not there. For one is only seeing through the shadows of the past. You do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. As Socrates points out, wisdom is acquired through first investigating what is held false in the mind. Judgments must be questioned and then suspended. One can then be in contact with a deeper understanding offered through the wisdom of the intuitive mind. In Workbook Lesson 5, one learns that one is never upset for the reason one thinks. This is because one believes falsely that one is upset by something occurring outside the mind, when actually the source of one's pain is due to the mind's interpretation of the situation. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about the thing. One hurts oneself emotionally by applying a fearful interpretation to the situation. As lesson 196 in the workbook states, it can be but myself I crucify. Through judgments I but do it to myself. Do not make the mistake of believing that you understand what you perceive, for its meaning is lost to you. In Matthew 18:3 in the Bible, Jesus states that unless one changes and becomes like a little child, one will never enter into the kingdom of heaven within. This change or inner shift that Jesus points to occurs by stepping back from one's conceptual thinking and acknowledging that one does not really know. For children know that they do not know, and therefore readily accept guidance and direction. In allowing the inner teacher of peace to interpret the meaning of the situation, one invites in a new understanding. Yet if one believes one already knows what the situation means, one will not hear this guidance. It will be concealed by the ego's pride and arrogance. By suspending what one thinks one knows, laying aside past biases and cherished viewpoints, answers that lie deeper will open to one's awareness. As the teacher Byron Katie states, be like a child that knows nothing, and let your ignorance lead you to freedom. Whenever you think you know, peace will depart from you, because you have abandoned the teacher of peace. Whenever you fully realize that you know not, peace will return, for you will have invited him to do so by abandoning the ego on behalf of him. One can say that the mind is hardwired for the truth. Whenever one holds on to beliefs that are not aligned with the truth, one will experience some loss of peace in the form of anxiety, sadness, or frustration. For peace coexists with truth in the same way that guilt and fear accompany illusions. Thus, any perceived lack of peace can serve as a reminder that one is believing in something that is in error and which is calling for correction. Pain can be ignored up to a certain point, but one's tolerance of it is not without limit. Eventually, one will feel compelled to address the true source of the pain, which is the false belief which gave rise to it. In certain cases, intense suffering can actually break open wide the ego mind, surrendering its hold on separation thoughts that were developed over a lifetime, and freeing one from a living hell. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means, and so I do not know how to respond to it, and I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. If one is not at peace, one is not interpreting one's situation correctly, as one is in the ego mind. For fear is the sure sign that one's thinking is in error and requires correction. And then, being in error, how could one respond appropriately to what one does not understand? By knowing one does not know, one holds off taking action that would only further reinforce the error. And then one also avoids the temptation to use past knowledge of the ego mind to guide one's actions. In doing this, one is open to hear the peaceful guidance of one's innocent mind, which knows what one perfectly needs to do in every situation. The recognition, then, that one does not know the meaning of anything can be seen as a form of ego surrender, returning decision-making to the mind that knows the truth. Your function here is only to decide against deciding what you want, in recognition that you do not know. Workbook Lesson 25 teaches that I do not know what anything is for. One does not know the purpose or meaning of anything because one is using only ego goals, and no one is an ego. Thus one does not know what one's best interests are. In any situation, one does not know the outcome that would truly make one peaceful. When one decides on one's own, one is really deciding with the ego mind, which only leads to eventual conflict, fear, and unfulfillment. In the rules for decision-making offered in chapter 30 in the text, one learns that to have a peaceful day is to decide against the ego's advice by not making decisions on one's own. Whenever one finds oneself in conflict, then, one must have unconsciously used the ego mind to make a decision or choice. By then, being open to seeing things differently, one returns decision making to the peaceful mind, which returns one to having a peaceful day. Let us remember not our own ideas of what the world is for. We do not know. Let every image held of everyone be loosened from our minds and swept away. In Buddhism, the release from past judgments and preconceptions is having the beginner's mind, a state of mind that is cherished and not to be overcome. The innocence and clarity of the beginner's mind releases conditioned patterns of thought and discards prejudices, both negative and positive. Ego judgment can at times be confused with wisdom, but it is a poor substitute for the underlying truth. Judgments made by the ego are always based on partial evidence, absent of all the facts, and thus are arbitrary, unreliable, and capricious. Releasing all of the past leaves only the present, as the imagined future is based on a past projected forward. Thus, without a past or future, the know-nothing mind opens up to the innocence and freedom that is revealed in this one sacred moment. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Awakening to the truth occurs through the removal of everything that blocks love's presence. In the Cloud of Unknowing, a 14th century Christian mystical work, one is instructed to set aside all thoughts and all concepts that stand in between oneself and one's source. One is to hold on to only a one-syllable word that represents one's creator. And with this, a great cloud of unknowing descends upon oneself. Only the attraction of love for love remains. At some point, even treasured beliefs and helpful pointers must be discarded. As Workbook Lesson 189 instructs, one must forget everything about the world and forget everything the Course has taught, leaving one to approach the eternal with wholly empty hands and a completely opened mind. There is no statement that the world is more afraid to hear than this: I do not know the thing I am, and therefore do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or on myself. Not knowing is a frightening idea to the ego mind, which perceives the suspension of judgment as a sign of weakness and an invitation for attack. For all ego judgments are designed to affirm the existence of a separated self. And to question these beliefs questions the existence of the ego itself. A Course in Miracles teaches that the very reason for the Course is that one does not know what one is. And if one does not know what one is, then obviously one cannot know what one is doing. One needs to withdraw one's alliance from the ego and turn over one's actions to a mind that does know. For it is in the very recognition of one's ignorance that an ever-present inner world emerges, and a newly found self encountered. Then let us wait an instant and be still, forgetting everything we thought we heard, remembering how much we do not know. When one no longer knows anything, when all past understanding has been set aside, what opens up to one's awareness is a domain, a kingdom never experienced before, fresh, new, and innocent. And in this awareness, one is no longer a stranger living in a strange land, but has found one's way back home, abiding in an ever still and ever silent now. Conceptual knowledge has no purpose and no value. Having moved beyond all perceptions, all sensations, all thoughts, beyond all form, one discovers that awareness of being still remains. This love-infused presence has been the very nature of what one has always been, without any concepts to blind one. In the language of the Course, one has come with wholly empty hands unto one's God.